Another day, another recap. Today we'll be diving into the action thriller franchise titled Nobody. This will feature both Nobody as well as the newly released Nobody 2. Without further ado, make sure you sit back, relax, and as always, enjoy the recap. The film opens with a scene where a handcuffed man, Hutch Mansell, visibly injured, reaches into his pocket and ends up pulling a tin of tuna out. He opens it and sets a small kitten on the table from inside his jacket. Across from him sit a woman and a man who are interrogating him. We then go back to Monday, where Hutch goes about his daily life. Tuesday holds no difference either, as he goes about his normal routine, working in his father-in-law Eddie's metal fabrication company, added with the usual training regiments. He comes home to find a pillow partition in between himself and his wife Becca. Every other day of the week goes back to his repetitious and boring lifestyle, with a clear disconnection with his family, including his 2 children. Week after week, his lifestyle continues until he hears his dog barking aggressively one night. After getting up to check it out, he inspects his daughter's room, followed by his son. Proceeding to go down the stairs, he is surprised by intruders lurking in his house. Grabbing a golf club, he goes to call 911 but is caught by his unwelcome guests. They ask for his money and he offers them what he has. Finding out everything is in his bank account, they steal his watch as he notices a weird tattoo. Simultaneously, his son jumps one of the goons and tries grappling with him until his dad stops and orders him to do the same. He is then dog-shotted as Becca hears the commotion, which panics the thugs long enough for them to make an escape. Once the cops arrive, Hutch contemplates whether he did the right thing by letting the intruders go. A policeman then asks him about the entire ordeal, and once he reiterates what happened, they tell him he done the right thing. His family, on the other hand, just stare at him with disappointment. That night, it drives a wedge between him and his wife as he makes his way down to the doghouse. He is then comforted by his daughter Sammy, who goes to sleep the night with him. The next day, he is back to his usual frustrating routine. This time though, his son Brady sits with a black eye and is uninterested in conversing with his dad. Once he leaves, Becca reassures her husband, telling him to have a good day. But it hasn't started the best, and it doesn't stop when their neighbor Jim shows off his new Mustang while Hutch and his son just stand there and listen. As per usual, Hutch goes to work and is immediately confronted by his brother-in-law Charlie. Charlie proceeds to pull a gun on Hutch and laughs whilst letting him know that this weapon would have stopped the intruders, and hands it over. Almost immediately, his father-in-law Eddie tells him he did the best thing possible by not antagonizing the intruders. He then proceeds by telling him the place is up for sale but expects a large offer to come his way. Inside his office, Hutch decides to turn on a radio to find himself talking to a man, and is asked by the man to explain to him what happened. Hutch recounts last night's break-in and tells him the gun was empty, and the man then understands why Hutch didn't retaliate. Before arriving home, Hutch goes on a detour to visit his elderly father David. Whilst his dad speaks, he stares at a family portrait which shows himself, his dad, and his brother Harry, who was the same man he was talking to earlier. Hutch then arrives home and greets his family, but does not get a warm welcoming from his son. His daughter Sammy then tells her father her kitty cat bracelet is missing and thinks the intruders couldn't have possibly stolen that too. This then infuriates Hutch as he goes back and takes his father's FBI badge and finds a gun and bullets, which he also takes. Hutch immediately travels downtown to a tattoo parlor, acting as an FBI agent looking for the tattoo he's seen on the intruders. He continues throughout the other tattoo parlors and is stopped at one of them when they call out his expired badge. The man there places his hand on the desk with knuckle dusters, trying to intimidate him until Hutch offers them money and dares them to take it from him. One of the men there spots Hutch's tattoo and thanks him for his service before walking away and locking the door. Hutch gains their respect and points out the tattoo that he's familiar with. With the information he just received, Hutch heads directly to his 2 intruders who think they're safe for the night. However, Hutch breaks in and pistol whips the man before aiming the gun at him. He demands his watch and the cat's bracelet until he hears the sounds of a baby crying and decides to show mercy to his intruders and lets them be. Outside, he smacks the wall with full force to release his anger. On his way home, contemplating his thoughts, a car next to him smashes into some barricades. Out steps 5 men, clearly off their heads, who intimidate the people on the bus. Hutch seems infuriated by this and clearly wants something to release his anger. As the goons continue to harass the civilians, Hutch gets off his seat. He takes the bus driver outside and locks the door before turning to the goons. In one badass move, he empties out his gun and dares them to confront him. Originally, before his old instincts kick in, he cops a few blows before retaliating. But he quickly shows them he is no pushover and takes them out one at a time. A knife is pulled on him and he is stabbed. Nonetheless, he keeps on going, and his rage keeps him standing upright, making sure these thugs are taught a lesson. On the ground, he takes the knife out and uses it against his assailants, but he is then dog-shotted and thrown out the window. Unfazed, he gets back up and goes inside the bus for round 2, but this time he shows them no mercy and quickly takes 3 thugs out of the picture. As one buckles and picks up the bullets from the ground, Hutch grabs a metal pole and smacks him multiple times, knocking him out. Winning a 5 versus 1, he walks out and hands the bus driver her phone before walking away as if nothing ever happened. Hutch finally arrives home and is met by his wife, who is shocked by the state he is in. Becca cleans him up as he reminisces about the good old days. When Hutch returns to bed, his wife, to his surprise, finally removes the pillow partition, indicating she wants to feel closer to her husband. Elsewhere at a club, Julian, a ruthless crime boss, proves to his men why he is the top dog by killing a random man there. Talking to his men, he is interrupted and immediately makes his way to the hospital. There, he discovers his brother in critical condition thanks to none other than Hutch. He interrogates the injured goons around him until one of them flashes Hutch's bus card. The following day, Hutch seems rather happier than usual and interacts with his son and even compliments how he handled the home invasion. He suddenly receives a call from his brother telling him he's in deep trouble with the Russians and needs to go see the barber. Unfazed, he heads to work, and within minutes his phone blows up with messages from his brother once again. Listening to his brother's advice, Hutch heads down and finally meets the man his brother was talking about. Without wasting time, Hutch is handed a folder containing information about Julian and their organization Obshak, worth hundreds of millions of dollars with unlimited resources. Discovering that Julian is the real deal and a verified sociopath killer, Julian simultaneously finds the whereabouts of Hutch's dad. They then blackmail a computer technician at the Pentagon asking for details about Hutch, but the file seems to be above his pay grade. With that, he goes down to the paper files and finds an operation titled Nobody. He sends scanned images to Julian's hacker, which scares the life out of her. She immediately rushes to Julian, throwing the images at him, but not before quitting out of fear. Hutch, regardless of finding out who his enemies are, still shares a nice moment with his family until noticing a few cars tinted out, and his instincts kick in once more, telling his family get to the basement and makes it clear not to call 911. After killing the lights, Julian's assassins make their way inside the house. Hutch, with just a baseball bat, takes out two assassins with ease and grabs a kitchen knife. He manages to take out a lone intruder, but is then met by more assailants and is thrown over the kitchen benchtop, but still finds the will to kill not just one but multiple assassins until he is tasered and put in the boot of the car. As Hutch is handcuffed, he breaks his fingers, managing to free his hand, and opens the boot to see his whereabouts and grabs a fire extinguisher. He then sprays the assassins, causing them to be blind, which makes the car crash and flip. Hutch frees himself from the boot and questions the dying assailant before running home. He calls his dad to warn him about what just took place. Upon his arrival at home, he sees the havoc that he caused and checks up on his family, who are in shock at the scene they are witnessing, and finally understand Hutch is no pushover. He tells Becca to take care of the kids and sends them on their way. Hutch proceeds to pull out gold bullions, then takes a seat conversing with an injured assassin while the rest are dead. He explains to him about an old job which he was ordered to kill a man, but instead of killing him, Hutch decided to listen for the first time and actually releases him. When he checks on the man 1 year later to see if he made the right choice, he finds the man happily married with 2 kids, and from that day forward, Hutch quit his work to have the same thing. Hutch then sets light to his house, causing it to explode, and on his way out, he notices his cocky neighbor's car and decides to steal it. As Hutch's dad sits at the nursing home pretending to be asleep, assassins make their way into his room, but he ends up pulling out a gun and shooting both the assailants. The gold bullions are then thrown by Hutch to his father-in-law's desk, offering it for the workshop. His brother-in-law tries to get cocky but ends up getting whacked, causing him to shut his mouth. Eddie then agrees to the proposition. The following day, Hutch gets ready for war as he transforms the fabric shop into a fortress. His brother calls him crazy, but Hutch says they came after my family. So instead, he makes the first move and drives to the Obshak, taking out all the bodyguards as he is strapped to the T. The guards try to attack him, but he shows no signs of fear and doesn't let anyone stop him from accomplishing his goal, which is to break and burn the entire criminal organization. As Julian is on stage performing, he looks down to find Hutch sitting there casually without a care in the world. Julian confronts him, telling him he's got some nerves being here as his goons pull out. Hutch then reveals the claymore, which causes the boss to order his men away. Hutch shows that he burned down everything Julian owns, and the reaction is as you'd expect. Hutch tells him it's only fair as his thugs broke into his house. He then offers Julian a truce and wants all business to be done between them, and gives him some time to think about it. Hutch then proceeds to make his way to the car in the hope that they will give in to his plan and attack him. As he takes off, he gives Julian a death stare as Julian shoots at him and the chase is on. His thugs continue to chase and shoot at Hutch, but he fires back as the Russians are continuously spraying at him, and in the process flips one of the men's cars, and this frustrates Julian. Arriving at the fabric shop, Hutch sees the group of assassins making their way in and start firing at each other, and just when it seems like he is outnumbered, his brother appears with a sniper taking out the enemies, whilst his dad comes from behind with a shotgun blasting the Russians. The gun battle's continuous as they keep blasting at each other until one of Hutch's grenades go off, taking out many assailants. His brother appears also engaging in the gunfight, taking them on one by one. They try to fight him back and do a decent job until he gets a collateral kill. Hutch and his dad proceed to keep on killing Julian's men and take out many of them as they go on a rampage. Hutch's dad also sets off traps that his son laid out, making sure he finishes off his enemies. The family trio continue to shoot every person in their sight and seem to be enjoying teaming up together as they go back to back, leaning on each other as a family until Julian arrives and they leap out of the way, taking cover. Julian is angrily screaming at Hutch whilst shooting at them. All of a sudden, Hutch pulls out a claymore and attaches it to a shield, charging at Julian and pulling the pin, eventually blowing up Julian in the process. Hutch is then helped up by his brother and is reunited with his dad and brother as he appreciates what they've done for him. Sirens then sound in the distance as Hutch tells his family to leave and tells them he will handle it. While waiting for the cops, he makes a phone call to Becca telling her thank you for everything and wants to start a new life with her and the kids. When questioned by the detectives on who he is, he replies saying nobody. Simultaneously, the detectives receive a phone call from their higher-ups saying Hutch is to be immediately released. 3 months later, Hutch walks into his new home with his wife, who seems to be in good spirits. Weirdly enough, Hutch gets a call from the real estate agent's phone and is asked if he wants to be on another mission. In an end credit scene, Hutch's dad and brother argue on their kill count. In the back of their caravan is a literal armory, and that's the end. Nobody 2 opens with our boy Hutch Mansell, sitting in an interrogation room bruised and battered. 2 agents sit across from him, their curiosity focused on one question: who exactly is this man? Before Hutch can explain, the scene shifts to an earlier time. We see Hutch living what appears to be a quiet, ordinary life, almost as if he's retired, but his expressions and movements make it clear that this calm lifestyle doesn't suit him. Beneath the surface, there's a restlessness. Soon enough, he returns to his true nature, that of a trained killer. Hutch slips back into his old ways, taking down his targets with ruthless precision and cold efficiency. While on one of his assignments, Hutch receives a text from his wife Becca asking if he's still coming home. He replies that he will, but later than expected. Becca starts to type something serious that they need to talk, but hesitates. Instead, she deletes the message and simply sends, "I love you." By Friday morning, Becca and the kids are getting ready for the day. She gently reminds Hutch that summer is just a few days away. Before she can finish, Hutch interrupts, saying he knows and that he'll plan something after completing one last job. His response leaves Becca frustrated, sensing that this one last assignment might not be as simple as it sounds. Later that day, Hutch steps into an elevator and contacts his handler, a man known as the Barber, to report on how his last mission went. The Barber reminds him that it was supposed to be a simple snatch and grab job for a data drive, but things clearly got messy. Through a flashback, we see the chaos unfold. Hutch had to think fast, using anything he could get his hands on to take down the guards one by one. Once he secured the drive, he thought it was over, until another wave of gunmen stormed in. Ducking for cover, Hutch tossed a gas tank toward them, and when their bullets struck it, the resulting explosion wiped them out completely. As he made his way into the basement, Hutch faced yet another crew, this time armed with machetes. But his skill and precision made short work of them. When the fight was over, he walked away without a scratch. Back at the barber's shop, Hutch hands over the drive. The handler informs him that the job brought in $800,000, barely putting a dent in the $30 million he owes the Russian mob after burning down their stash. The barber mentions there's another job lined up, but Hutch says he needs a break. The handler warns him that at this rate he's only delaying his freedom. If he keeps working, he could be debt-free by spring. Hutch stays firm, saying he's done for now. The barber gives a faint smile and wishes him luck, adding that trouble always seems to find him anyway. During his last mission, Hutch had spotted a poster for Plumberville, a theme park he loved as a child. The memory stuck with him, and he now sees it as the perfect escape. Back home, he shows his family an old Plumberville ad, trying to convince them to go on a trip there, even saying Grandpa will be joining them. As they talk it over, Hutch notices his son Brady has a black eye. When he asks about it, Brady shrugs it off, saying it happened during a school game that Hutch missed. Despite the tension, the family agrees to go on the vacation, hoping it'll give them all a fresh start. Soon after, the family picks up Grandpa David from the retirement home and heads straight to the park. After a long drive, they finally arrive at Plumberville. Hutch shows the kids their room, but they refuse to share. To keep the peace, Grandpa offers Brady his old lodge so Brady's sister can have her own space. Hutch and Becca settle into their room, which Becca finds a bit amusing. They're just about to get romantic when their daughter Sammy barges in and drags them to the water park. When they arrive, an attendant explains the park is closed for the next 24 hours due to an incident. As a small apology, the family is handed hot dog coupons. Later that same day, the family heads to a restaurant where Hutch drifts into a flashback of his childhood, remembering the pure joy he once felt in places like this. When he snaps out of it, he realizes he's been staring awkwardly at the town sheriff, who calls him out for it. Embarrassed, Hutch quickly grabs a tray of hot dogs and returns to his family's table. Later at the arcade, Hutch tries to get Brady to open up about his black eye again, but the boy brushes it off once more. Instead, Brady focuses on the games, winning a pile of tickets. When he notices a few girls watching, he casually gives them some of his winnings. Moments later, as Brady and Sammy pick out teddy bears, a teenage boy confronts Brady for giving his girlfriend those tickets. He mocks Brady, calling him a nerd. Brady tries to walk away, but the boy rips Sammy's honey badger plush in half. Furious, Brady punches him, and a fight breaks out until park security rushes in. Hutch arrives just in time, catching a baseball thrown his way. But before things escalate further, Becca steps in, urging him to stay calm and leave. The family starts walking away, but when Sammy bends to pick up her torn toy, a security guard smacks the back of her head and tells her to drop it. Hutch freezes, taking a few steps before saying he forgot his phone. Then he turns back. In a burst of rage, he attacks the guard, punching him, slamming his face into a platform and striking him the same way the man hit his daughter. He only stops when his family calls out, pulling him back before he goes too far. The family is arrested, but with no charges filed, they're released. Before they can leave, the sheriff, Abel, pulls Hutch into his office where he meets Wyatt, the father of the boy Brady fought. Wyatt makes it clear he runs this town. Still, since they're tourists, he'll let them go, on one condition. They need to leave. Hutch agrees that Brady will apologize for hurting Max's arm, but he tells Wyatt to review the security footage first. Wyatt nods and waves them off, seeming to understand. As soon as Hutch steps out, though, Abel orders his deputy to gather some men and take care of Hutch, making it clear the situation is far from over. When the family gets home, Becca isn't happy about what happened. She confronts Hutch, accusing him of using the vacation as a cover for another mission, especially since he brought a mysterious black bag with him. Hutch tries to reassure her, saying he made a promise to leave that life behind and he's kept it. Still suspicious, Becca checks the bag herself, only to find it's filled with simple vacation items, snacks, clothes, and even a bottle of wine. Relieved, she laughs and the two share a quiet drink together, enjoying a rare peaceful moment. The next day, Hutch spends quality time with the kids, taking them on a duckboat ride. But as they're enjoying themselves, he spots the deputy approaching with a group of hired thugs. Acting fast, Hutch buys more tickets, sending his family on the ride while pretending to have a stomachache so he can stay behind. He boards another boat just as the deputy and his men close in. The deputy warns him that he should have left town, but before Hutch can explain, the crew attacks. Hutch tries to restrain himself, avoiding lethal moves. But when the deputy joins the fight, Hutch quickly takes him down. He demands to know who sent them, but the deputy strikes back, chopping off Hutch's pinky finger. Hutch scrambles to grab it, only to watch it roll off the deck and into the water, where a fish swallows it whole. Before he can recover, the thugs knock him overboard, assuming he's finished. Moments later, Hutch climbs back onto the boat, bloodied but furious. This time, he doesn't hold back, tearing through the crew with anything he can grab, then slamming the deputy's face down and growling, "I'm just here on vacation." Later, Hutch calls his brother Harry to ask about Plumberville. Harry explains that the town used to be an old trade route for crime syndicates, meaning those family vacations they took there weren't what they seemed. Meanwhile, inside a warehouse, Sheriff Abel meets with Wyatt Martin. Wyatt warns him not to cause trouble and reminds him who truly runs the town before heading off to check on his son. Soon after, Abel receives a call from his deputy, now in the hospital after Hutch's brutal fight, telling him that Hutch isn't who he appears to be. At the same time, Hutch contacts the barber, his handler. The barber immediately senses that Hutch has gotten himself into something serious and asks what's going on. Hutch presses for more information about the town, and the barber explains that Plumberville is a major backroad hub for trafficking guns, viruses, and other illegal cargo flowing down from Canada into the States. He then reveals the name behind the entire operation, Lendina, a ruthless figure no one dares to cross. On the other hand, Lendina strides into her casino where a gambler is on a suspicious winning streak. When he tries to cash out, she slams a knife through his hand and pulls out the hidden earpiece he's been using to cheat. Speaking into it, she warns his partners that nobody plays her, then orders her guards to wipe out the cheaters and every witness. Elsewhere, Max practices baseball with Wyatt. Wyatt steps aside to take a call from Lendina, who asks about her shipment. Wyatt insists this will be his last run, claiming it clears his late father's debt. Lendina shuts him down cold, saying the debt never ends and the shipments will continue. She reminds him his father died because he got distracted, then pointedly asks if Wyatt is distracted too. After the call, Lendina rings Sheriff Abel and orders him to deliver something of real value to Wyatt. Back at the lodge, Brady wonders if their dad will be back soon. A knock at the door interrupts and Becca opens it to find Grandpa David holding dinner. He covers for Hutch, saying he'll be late. Meanwhile, on the road, Hutch tries to calm himself, but when he reaches the warehouse, his anger takes over. He drenches stacks of money with gasoline and threatens to burn it all. Sheriff Abel demands to know what he wants. Hutch tells him plainly he needs a break. Once he walks out of there, neither Lendina, the sheriff, nor any of their men are ever to come after him or his family again. Abel assures Hutch they'll stay away as long as he takes his family and leaves Plumberville. Hutch agrees, but just as he's about to step outside, Max suddenly leaps from a van crying out for help. Hutch hesitates, walks toward his car, then suddenly doubles back. He storms inside, taking the men down one by one with whatever he can grab and frees Max. Sheriff Abel rushes in and fires a shot but misses. Rather than return fire, Hutch shoots the chandelier, sending sparks onto the stacked cash. Flames catch fast, swallowing the money and then the entire warehouse. News of the destruction reaches Lendina, shown a photo of the culprit, an ordinary family man on vacation. She's furious. She vows to hunt him down and rallies her crew. Hutch brings Max back to the lodge. He tells Brady to apologize for the earlier fight, but Becca looks disheartened, saying he always finds a way to stir up trouble. Hutch admits trouble seems to find him. Surprisingly, Becca tells him to finish what he started. Later, Hutch meets Wyatt, who's raging and swinging a bat at him for dragging chaos into town. Hutch floors him with a single swing. Once Wyatt cools off, Hutch explains he burned Lendina's shipment and saved Max. Wyatt finally opens up. His father spent years trying to pay off Lendina, but she killed him anyway. A debt long cleared, still exploited. He swears his son won't inherit that chain. Wyatt reveals his late father's hidden arsenal, weapons meant for Lendina before she struck first. Together, he and Hutch rig traps across the entire theme park, with extra help from David and Harry. After a long night of planning and setup, they brace for what's coming. Meanwhile, back at the lodge, Becca quietly puts Brady in charge of his sister, grabs a rifle and slips out under the excuse of going for a walk. Soon after, Lendina and her crew roll into the park. Sheriff Abel meets with Hutch and Wyatt, telling Hutch to surrender and come with him, promising he might be able to pull him out of the mess. Hutch and Wyatt refuse. Abel turns to head back to his car, but before he can get in, one of Lendina's men guns him down on her order. The firefight erupts. The goons rush in only to be torn apart by the traps. Landmines buried in the ball pit, grenades swinging down like pendulums, each attacker meeting a fast, explosive end. Meanwhile, at the lodge, more of Lendina's men arrive to go after the family. Harry shows up just in time and cuts them down, leaving him one-on-one with the crew's leader. After a fierce clash of blades, Harry ends it by decapitating him. Back at the park with most henchmen down, Wyatt crosses paths with Hutch before collapsing from his injuries. Hutch covers him, slips him a gun for protection, and heads off to find his father. That's when he finds Lendina, calmly whistling. She demands to know who sent him. Hutch answers that he came only to make memories with his family. Unimpressed, Lendina signals to two of her top female fighters. They step in and take turns landing brutal kicks and strikes, beating Hutch down. Lendina moves to finish him, but Wyatt fires and drops one of her goons. She lashes back and seriously injures Wyatt. As Lendina goes to kill Hutch, Becca steps in and fires tranquilizer darts into Lendina's chest and eye. With the fight turning, David sets the park's explosives and the place goes up in flames. The story then returns to the present. Becca and Hutch sit in an interrogation room. This time with their rescued family dog. The agents push for answers, but a call from a superior orders them to release the Mansells. Back home, the family unwinds with a slideshow of their trip, joined by Brady's girlfriend. The story comes to a close. Thanks for watching this action thriller recap. I'd appreciate a like and subscribe, and as always, stay awesome and take care.